Good evening, and tonight, we will gently step away from the modern world. There will be no glowing screens here, no passing cars, no electric lights humming softly in the dark. No distant airplanes crossing the sky, no clocks ticking on the wall, no quick messages, no crowded schedules, and no late-night noise from the world beyond your door. Instead, tonight, we will travel slowly back in time, far back, to a small medieval village. A place of earth and wood, a place of smoke and damp straw, a place where the rhythm of life is set not by a clock, but by the rising of the sun, the changing of the weather, the tolling of a church bell, and the endless work of simply staying alive. And in this quiet journey, you are not a king. You are not a knight. You are not a noble wrapped in velvet or seated beside a warm fire in a stone hall. You are a peasant. One of the many, a person of the fields, a worker of the land, a life so ordinary that history often passes over you in silence. And yet, it is people like you who make the whole world function. You rise before sunrise. You work until the light fades. You know the feel of rough wood beneath your hand, the sting of cold mud around your ankles, the weight of a bucket, the ache in your back, the smell of damp wool, the taste of coarse bread, and the quiet comfort of rest at the end of a long day. Tonight, we will not rush. We will move through your day slowly, gently, one moment at a time. We will wake in darkness. We will step into a cold morning. We will tend the fire, eat a simple meal, feed the animals, walk the fields, carry water, mend what is broken, and return home under fading light. And as we do, you can simply listen. There is nothing you need to remember. Nothing you need to solve. Nothing you need to do. Just imagine and rest. So now, let the modern world grow quiet. Let the day slip away. And picture, if you can, a little village in medieval Europe. Perhaps in England, perhaps in France, perhaps somewhere far enough away that the world feels made mostly of rain, soil, timber, smoke, and prayer. It is very early. The sky is still dark. And your day is about to begin. You wake not to an alarm, but to discomfort. That is often how waking begins here. Not with sound first, though there are sounds. A shifting body nearby, a quiet cough, the faint crackle of embers in the hearth nearly gone, a restless animal just beyond the wall, a weak stirring of wind against the thatch. But before any of that, there is the body itself. Your shoulders are stiff. Your neck is warm on one side and cold on the other. Your legs feel heavy beneath rough blankets. And the straw mattress beneath you, if it can even be called a mattress, has flattened in the night. It rustles when you move. The room around you is dim, so dim that the corners seem to dissolve into shadow. The air is cool and it carries many familiar smells, old smoke from last evening's fire, damp earth from the floor, stale wool, faint manure from outside, and the dry, dusty scent of straw. You lie still for a moment. Not because you are deeply rested. Rest is rarely perfect here, but because there is one small, quiet pleasure in the day, the few seconds before it begins. Before standing. Before carrying. Before bending, and lifting and scrubbing and walking and repeating. For just a breath or two, you remain under the blanket and listen. Beside you, perhaps your wife is already stirring. Perhaps a child turns in sleep. Perhaps several children sleep nearby, close together for warmth. Perhaps an older relative is in the corner, wrapped in patched cloth. In a small medieval peasant house, privacy is thin. Space is precious. Warmth is shared because it must be. The house itself is simple, very simple. The floor may be packed earth, worn hard by many feet. The walls are made of wattle-and-daub, strips of woven wood covered in mud and straw, dried into a rough surface. The roof above is thatched, thick with reeds or straw, and though it keeps much of the weather out, it is never perfect. In heavy rain, there may be dripping. In strong wind, there may be drafts. In winter, the cold slips in anyway. Near the center of the room is the hearth, the heart of the home. Not always blazing, often only glowing, but always important. It gives heat when it can. It cooks food. It dries clothes. It fills the room with smoke, and that smoke lingers in the roof, in the walls, in your hair, in your clothes, in almost everything. You push back the blanket. The cold finds you immediately. You sit up slowly. There is no rushing because rushing changes nothing. The work will still be there. The field will still need tending. The animals will still need feeding. The water will still need carrying. The bread will still be coarse, the tools still worn, the boots still damp if you are lucky enough to have boots at all. Your feet touch the floor. It is cold and hard. You breathe in. The day has started. For a few moments, the house becomes a place of low movements and muted sounds. Cloth shifting, a pot being touched, wood being set in place, hands rubbing sleep from tired eyes. Someone kneels near the embers. This is one of the first tasks of the morning, bringing the fire back to life. If the coals survive the night beneath ash, that is good fortune. Fire is work. To preserve it is easier than to start again from nothing. So with practiced care, a hand stirs the ash, exposing a soft orange glow hidden beneath the gray. A little dry kindling is added. A breath is blown gently. Then another. Then a few thin twigs. A small crackle answers. Life returning. Soon there is a faint flame, uncertain at first, then steadier. Its light begins to shape the room. A pot. A bench. A hanging cloth. A bundle of kindling. The outline of sleeping forms, becoming waking ones. Outside, the world remains dark, but not completely. There is that sense that morning is beginning somewhere beyond the walls. The sky is lifting, very slowly, from black to charcoal. You stand and reach for your clothes. There is no wardrobe full of options here, no choosing of colors or styles. You wear what you have, and what you have is worn because it has been worn many times before. A linen shift perhaps, rough but serviceable, a wool tunic over it, hose or simple leg coverings, a belt, maybe a hood or cap. In colder months, thicker layers if they exist. In wet weather, a cloak if the household is fortunate enough to own one. The cloth is coarse against the skin. It scratches in places. It hangs heavily, where old rain never fully dried. It smells faintly of smoke and work. But it is yours, and it works, and that is enough. By now, one child may be awake, then another. Morning in such a house does not unfold in silence for long. There are murmurs, there is a small complaint, a yawn, a mother's whispered instruction, a pot being moved closer to the fire. Breakfast will not be grand, it will not even be memorable, but it matters. A little pottage, perhaps, if there is some left from the night before. Pottage is the quiet foundation of life here, a humble stew of whatever the household has. Grains, peas, onions, cabbage, maybe herbs, maybe beans, perhaps thickened and reheated, perhaps thin and plain. It changes with the seasons, with luck, with poverty, with harvest, with loss. Or perhaps there is bread. Dark bread, coarse bread, bread made from rye, barley, or mixed grains, heavier and rougher than the white loaves of the wealthy. It is cut or broken by hand, sometimes hard enough to chew slowly, sometimes stale enough to dip into liquid. There may be ale as well, weak ale, brewed because water is not always trusted, and because even children may drink a mild version of it. It is part of life, not indulgence. You eat near the fire. Not much is said. The day is too familiar to require a great deal of discussion. Everyone knows what must be done. Everyone understands, without saying it, that a day lost is food lost, warmth lost, progress lost. So breakfast is practical. You hold the bowl in both hands, grateful for its warmth. You feel the heat against your fingers, the first real warmth of morning. Steam rises faintly. The smell is plain. Grain, onion, smoke, Maybe a trace of leek, maybe cabbage, maybe almost nothing at all. You eat slowly, because there is no use pretending this meal is large. It is better to let it last. Outside, somewhere beyond the house, a rooster calls. Then another. A dog barks. A cartwheel creaks in the distance. And from farther still, perhaps from the village church, a bell begins to sound. Not loud enough to shake the world, just steady enough to remind everyone that the village is waking together. This is a world of shared rhythm. You are poor, but you are not alone in your poverty. The whole village breathes with a similar pattern. Other houses are waking now. Other fires are being coaxed back to life. Other bowls are being lifted. Other hands are pulling on rough sleeves in the half-light. When the meal is finished, the real work begins. And it begins not with one great dramatic task, but with many small ones. Always many small ones. The kind that fill a life so completely that a person may look back after many years and struggle to remember where the days went. A child is told to gather something. A pot must be cleaned or set aside. A bundle of kindling must be brought in. Ash may need removing. A tool may need finding. A latch may need lifting. And then, before the sky has fully brightened, you step outside. The morning air meets you like cold water. It is damp and sharp, especially in the cooler months, and it smells of earth. Wet earth, animal earth, field earth, the living smell of a village built close to the ground. Your breath clouds faintly. The yard is uneven underfoot, mud in some places, straw in others, small tracks worn by feet, hooves, carts. Chickens may already be scratching. A pig may grunt from its pen. A cow shifts heavily. If the family has a goat, it may tug restlessly or bleat in expectation. This, too, is part of the morning. Animals do not wait. They must be fed, checked, led, milked, watched, cleaned after, protected. A peasant household, when fortunate, is rarely only human. Its survival may depend on a small number of creatures whose value is impossible to ignore. A chicken is eggs. A cow is milk, dung, labor, perhaps status. A pig is wealth in a living form. A goat is food and resilience. Even a worn horse or ox can mean the difference between progress and exhaustion. So you begin there. You carry feed, perhaps scraps, perhaps grain if there is any to spare, perhaps hay. Your hands know the motion so well they need no thought. Scatter here, set down there, untie, lift, pour. The animals respond with uncomplicated urgency. They do not think of seasons or rents or failed harvests or obligations to Lord and church. They think only of now: food, water, space, warmth. There is something almost calming in this, though you would not name it so. The rhythm is repetitive. The work is familiar. The body follows memory. A wooden bucket needs filling. A gate needs checking. A tether must be adjusted. A hen must be shooed away from where she should not be. If there is a cow to milk, that task demands time and patience. You sit low. The pail is cold at first. The animal is warm and alive beside you, its breath visible in the morning chill. Your fingers work in a steady motion. Milk strikes the pail with a thin sound, gentle and repetitive. Foam gathers. Steam rises faintly from the animal's body. There is a smell of hay, hide, warmth, and the strange peace of necessity. Nothing about your life is elegant, but some parts of it are steady. And steadiness, in hard lives, is precious. Once the animals are dealt with, the field waits. The field always waits. Whether it is planting time, weeding time, harvest time, or simply maintenance, the land demands attention. To live from it means serving it, though even that service offers no guarantee. You begin to walk. The path from house to field may be short, depending on the village and the household's arrangement. You may pass neighbors already at work. A nod may be exchanged, perhaps a few quiet words. Morning greetings are brief. No one is trying to impress anyone with energy. Everyone is carrying the weight of the same day. The village itself is modest. Wooden houses, smoke rising, tracks of mud and straw, perhaps a common green, perhaps a well, perhaps a smithy, perhaps a church standing slightly apart in its authority. There are no paved streets, no neat rows, no planned beauty for beauty's sake. The village exists because it must, shaped by need, weather, labor, and time. Beyond it lie the fields. Open strips of land, perhaps, under the common field system. Long, narrow holdings divided among peasants. Not private in the modern sense, but worked according to custom, obligation, and inherited arrangement. You know which strip is yours to tend, though yours is never simple. The land belongs, in a larger sense, to powers above you. You work it. You depend on it. You may pass its use through family lines, but your relationship to the land is woven with duties and limits. Still, when you step into the field, it feels personal, because your body knows every part of it. The uneven patch where water gathers. The stubborn section where the soil is heavy. The place where weeds return too quickly. The edge where the wind bites harder. The corner where last season's yield was poor. Morning light grows slowly as you work. At first, the world is all muted gray and silver. Then the sky begins to show color, pale blue perhaps, soft gold near the horizon, cloud drifting low. Dew clings to grass and stubble. Your shoes, if you have them, grow damp. If you do not, the cold of the ground reaches you in a more direct way. The work depends on the season. In spring, perhaps you are preparing the earth, breaking clods, guiding an animal through furrows, sowing seed with careful hope. The gesture of scattering seed can look almost graceful from far away, but up close it is effort, calculation, repetition. In summer, there is weeding, mending, watching, worrying, labor under the expanding heat. In autumn, harvest dominates everything. Cutting, binding, gathering, carrying, storing, counting. Every hour matters because weather is always near, and loss can arrive on the back of rain. In winter, though the field quiets, work never disappears. There is repair, maintenance, care of animals, mending, hauling, surviving. For this day, let us imagine late spring. The world is growing. The air still carries some coolness, but the sun will warm it later. Your task is to tend the crop and the surrounding land. There are weeds to pull, boundaries to inspect, tools to use, and little problems everywhere. So you bend, and stand, and bend again. This is much of peasant life, the body moving between earth and sky, over and over, until even the muscles seem to think in that rhythm. You grip weeds near the root, you tug, the soil resists, then gives. You gather them, drop them aside, step forward. Again. A bird calls somewhere over the field. Insects stir in the grass. Farther away, someone else is working too, and you can hear the faint metal tap of a tool striking something harder than soil. The sun rises higher. Light moves slowly over the land, and the dampness begins to lift. The cold in your fingers eases. Your back begins to ache in a new way, no longer stiff from sleep but tired from use. This is not unusual. It is not even noteworthy. The body of a peasant is expected to bear this, to continue, to adapt, to harden. Yet hardening does not mean feeling nothing. You feel the pull in your shoulders, the weight in your knees, the rough wood of the tool handle against your palm, the beginning of sweat beneath the wool, the grain of dirt pressed into the lines of your hand. As the morning continues, tasks shift. A broken section of fence or hedge may need attention. If animals stray, crops suffer. If boundaries weaken, disputes can begin. So you gather what you need, branches, stakes, cord, perhaps woven material, and mend what has loosened. There is a quiet craft in this, not art for admiration, but skill for function. A medieval peasant must know how to do many things passably well. There is no calling a specialist for every problem. If wood breaks, someone in the household must manage it. If cloth tears, it must be patched. If a roof leaks, hands must climb and repair. If a tool handle cracks, someone must shape a new one or make do with a temporary answer. So much of survival is patching. Patching roofs. Patching garments. Patching fences. Patching days together until one season becomes another. By mid-morning, perhaps the sun is warm enough that you remove a layer or loosen one. The light is stronger now, and with it comes the sense that the village is fully alive. A cart moves on a nearby path. Voices drift faintly. A dog runs and is called back. A child carries something too large for small hands. The church stands where it always stands, not moving, simply present, marking the village both spiritually and physically. Religion is woven into life here, not separate from work but mixed with it. Feast days, fast days, saints' days, bells, prayers, obligations. The peasant's world is not only material. It is full of meaning, fear, hope, ritual, and stories of heaven, hell, sin, mercy, weather, plague, and providence. The harvest may fail for practical reasons, yes, but people also seek reasons beyond the practical. The world is interpreted through both labor and belief. You may cross yourself at certain moments. You may whisper a prayer. You may not think of it as extraordinary. It is simply part of how the world is understood. And yet, prayer does not weed the field for you. So the work continues. Sometimes you work alone, sometimes with family, sometimes near neighbors. Conversation, when it comes, is not endless. Talking costs breath and focus, and there is no special reward for charming speech when the work is plain. But people do speak, quietly, briefly, about weather. About crops, about who is ill, about repairs, about a pig that escaped, about a rumor from the manor, about rents, about the coming feast, about a child's fever, about little things because little things are most of life. The sun climbs. Now the warmth settles more firmly on your shoulders. The smell of the field changes too. Morning damp gives way to the greener scent of growing things. Crushed weeds release their bitterness. Soil warmed by sunlight smells rich and alive. And then, as always, comes thirst. Water must be carried, brought from a well, stream, or stored supply. Another task, another walk, another lifting of buckets with fingers already tired. In the medieval village, water is never as effortless as turning a tap. It is weight. It is distance. It is a container balanced carefully. It is time pulled from other work, and so every use of it matters. When you drink, you notice the coolness deeply. The way it passes through you, the brief renewal, not luxury, just relief. Sometimes the simplest relief is the most powerful. By now, the first half of the day is well underway. Your stomach reminds you that breakfast was small. The body spends itself quickly in labor, and though hunger may be familiar, it is never fully ignored. Hunger is a quiet companion in peasant life. Not always sharp, not always desperate, but close enough to remain part of thought. At last there is a pause. Not a long one, not a leisurely one, but enough to sit, perhaps on an overturned bucket, a patch of grass, a low stump, or simply at the field's edge. Midday. The sun is above. The shadows are shorter. The village air hums softly with work and insects and distant movement. You unwrap or uncover what little meal has been brought. Bread again, likely. Maybe cheese, if fortune allows. Perhaps onion. Perhaps a little salted food. Perhaps only bread. You eat slowly. This is not a feast. It is fuel, but you are grateful for it all the same. The bread may be dense, a little sour, perhaps slightly stale. You tear it with practiced fingers. Cheese, if there is any, is precious and sharp. Onion is strong and simple. Nothing is delicate. Nothing is arranged beautifully. But food in the midst of work carries its own dignity. Nearby, another peasant may do the same. Sit, chew, wipe a hand on rough cloth, look over the field in silence. This silence is not empty. It is full of calculation. How much remains to be done? Whether rain might come, whether the grain looks healthy enough, whether the Lord's demands will be manageable, whether the family can get through another winter, whether the pig will stay healthy, whether the roof must be patched before autumn, the child's cough will fade. Whether the child's cough will fade. A medieval peasant lives close to uncertainty. Too much rain can ruin, too little rain can ruin, a sick animal can ruin, a poor harvest can ruin, a harsh winter can ruin, a war passing nearby can ruin. A tax, a rent, a death, a fever, a broken tool, an infected wound, each small on its own, perhaps, but together they form the fragile edge upon which life balances. And yet, amid all that uncertainty, the lunch break remains very human. Someone wipes crumbs from a beard. Someone shares a piece with a child. Someone laughs once, briefly, at a small comment. Someone stretches a tired back and winces. Then, too soon, the pause ends. The afternoon begins. And the afternoon always feels longer. The early freshness is gone now. Morning hope has been spent. What remains is endurance. This may be the truest skill of peasant life. Endurance without drama. Not heroic speeches. Not glorious charges. Not grand declarations. Just the ability to keep going. You stand again. The legs are slightly heavier now. The body resists for a moment, then obeys. The hands return to their work. If the task is hoeing, the motion becomes nearly hypnotic. Lift, strike, pull, step, lift, strike, pull, step. If the task is gathering stones from the field, you bend and lift and carry and return. If the task is cutting or trimming or tying, your fingers repeat patterns learned over years. Work in this world is made of repeated movement, and repeated movement changes the way time feels. Minutes do not stand apart clearly. They blur. The afternoon becomes a long strip of effort, broken only by small interruptions. A tool edge dulls. A child calls. A neighbor asks a question. A cloud briefly covers the sun. A breeze arrives, then disappears. Sometimes these tiny changes feel large, because they are the only changes there are. As the day warms further, sweat builds under your clothing. Wool is useful but not forgiving. Linen beneath may help, but labor and sun find their way through everything. The back of your neck grows warm. Your hands darken with dirt. Dust settles on your shoes, your hem, the edge of your sleeves. And still the field continues asking. This is the truth about the land. It is never finished with you. Even if today's task ends, tomorrow's is waiting. Even if one corner is cleared, another needs attention. Even if this season succeeds, the next is uncertain. The land feeds you, but only after it has worn you down. In the afternoon, perhaps you are joined by family more fully, a wife carrying something, children helping in whatever small ways they can. Medieval childhood is not arranged around play alone. From an early age, children become useful where they are able. They gather, carry, watch animals, fetch water, scare birds from crops, learn by doing. Life trains them early because it must. A small child may complain from tiredness, then continue anyway. An older one may be nearly silent with concentration. Their clothes are patched, their limbs thin, their faces already becoming familiar with weather and work. You glance at them and feel many things at once. Pride, perhaps. Worry, certainly. Love, though it may rarely be spoken in elaborate words. The fierce and quiet desire that they survive. Survival is a kind of love language here. To work for your family is to care for them. To save seed, patch clothing, gather fuel, tend a fever, or bring in food is love in practical form. There are no grand gestures because life leaves little room for them, but there is devotion in labor. At some point in the afternoon, there may be a shift in work from field to village task. Perhaps you return carrying something on your shoulder, a bundle of brush, a sack, a basket, a tool, firewood, whatever the day has made necessary. The road back is slower than the road out. The body knows this. The step is more measured. The muscles feel used. The mind may drift. A bird overhead, a cloud crossing, a dog trotting by, little things become noticeable when the body is tired enough to stop resisting the world and simply move through it. In the village, more tasks wait. They always do. Wood may need chopping or stacking. Grain may need grinding depending on the household's arrangements and access. Cloth may need mending. A roof edge may need checking. A broken handle may need replacing. The yard may need clearing. Dung may need moving to where it can later serve a purpose. Nothing is wasted casually in a poor household. Not ash, not scraps, not old cloth, not broken wood if it can still burn or be reshaped. You enter the house again at some point during the late afternoon, and it feels different than it did at dawn. Not restful exactly, but familiar in a softer way. The light is warmer now, slanting through whatever small opening serves as window. The hearth may be lit again or stirred into stronger life. The room holds the day's smells more fully. Smoke, food, earth, wool, human presence. Even if the house is small, even if it is crowded, even if it leaks and smokes and chills in winter, it is still the center of the family's existence. A home does not need comfort to matter. Sometimes it matters because it is all you have. Perhaps evening meal preparations begin now. This is another world of repetitive labor, often led by the women of the household, but not only theirs in every case, depending on circumstance. Food does not simply appear. It must be washed, cut, stirred, watched, carried, boiled, baked, thickened, stretched. And stretching is one of the great arts of peasant life. Stretching flour, stretching stew, stretching daylight, stretching strength, stretching supplies from one season toward the next. Into the pot goes what there is. Again, perhaps pottage, because pottage is endlessly adaptable. Grains, vegetables, herbs, bits of whatever can be spared. The pot is familiar, blackened by fire, heavy, practical. It hangs or rests near the heat. Someone stirs it with a wooden spoon worn smooth by years of use. The smell slowly fills the room. It is not rich, but it is comforting because it means the day is turning toward completion. Outside, animals must be checked again. Evening feeding, securing pens, making sure nothing has wandered. The peasant's day is bracketed by care, morning care, evening care. What lives in your keeping must be accounted for before darkness fully arrives. So once more you step outside. Now the light is softer. The harsh brightness of midday has gone. Shadows lengthen. The air cools. Birds shift their evening songs. Somewhere smoke rises straighter in the calmer air. A cow exhales heavily. Chickens settle. The village, like you, is beginning to fold itself inward. These evening moments may be the most beautiful of the day, though beauty here is quiet and easily missed. The sky turning gold. Dust glowing in the light. A child sitting still for once. The sound of distant voices carried softly. A breeze moving through growing grain. The relief, however small, of knowing the hardest work is nearly done. You do not call it beauty. You may not even pause long enough to think of it that way. But your body notices. Your breathing changes. Your shoulders lower by a fraction. Your step becomes less urgent. At last, when animals are secure and the meal is ready, the household gathers again. Evening is not luxurious, but it is communal. Bowls are filled. Bread is broken. Hands reach across the same small space they reached across in the morning. Firelight shifts over faces. The room is warmer now. Shadows move on the walls. Children may be more talkative at this hour, if not too tired. Someone recounts something minor from the day. A neighbor may visit briefly. A small village story may pass from one house to another. Someone's calf is sick. Someone's daughter is to marry. Someone on the manor has issued new instructions. Someone saw travelers on the road. News travels slowly. but village talk travels well. The evening meal tastes better than breakfast, not necessarily because it is better, but because you have earned it with the whole day. Hunger is deeper. Rest is nearer. The fire is more alive. The mind no longer needs to brace itself for hours still ahead. You eat. You feel the ache in your arms more clearly now. The kind of ache that reveals itself only once motion slows. Your hands may sting in little places. Your knees feel thick and tired. The back speaks in dull heaviness. The feet are sore from earth, weight, and distance. This is the account your body keeps. Every day writes in it. If there is a small luxury, it may come now. Not luxury in the noble sense. Nothing jeweled. Nothing sweet and elaborate. Just a small thing that softens the edge of life. A spot closer to the fire. A bowl slightly fuller than usual. A child laughing. A moment with no immediate task. A dry place to sit. A mended garment. The knowledge that the weather held fair. The simple fact that everyone made it to evening. These things matter greatly when life is narrow. After the meal, work may still continue, though in gentler form. A garment is patched by firelight, needle through cloth, pull, knot, turn, repeat. A tool is inspected. Wood is set aside for mourning. A child is washed as best as circumstances allow. A story is told, perhaps not as entertainment alone, but as memory, warning, humor, teaching. The fire is watched carefully. Fuel is too valuable to waste. The room glows and smokes in equal measure. Light flickers over rough walls and tired faces. Outside, darkness settles over the village. No electric lamps push it back. No city glow smears the horizon. Night arrives more completely here than most modern people ever experience. Once the firelight and perhaps the moon are all that remain, the world narrows beautifully and frighteningly. The village becomes an island of dim warmth in a wide darkness. Beyond it may be fields, woods, paths, unseen water, and all the old fears people carry into night. Wolves perhaps in some places. Thieves, spirits, uncertainty. The imagination grows stronger in darkness, especially in a world where so much is unknown and so much is explained by story and belief. But inside the house, there is relative safety. Not perfect safety. Not comfort by modern standards. But enough. As the fire settles lower, tiredness overtakes everyone more fully. This tiredness is not vague, it is total. It lives in the muscles, yes, but also in the mind. The kind of tiredness that requires no effort to welcome sleep. There is no ritual of winding down because the entire day has been the ritual. Labor has prepared the body for rest. Blankets are arranged. Straw is shifted. Places are made. Children droop with sleep. An adult stirs the fire one last time or banks it for the night, covering coals to preserve tomorrow's beginning within tonight's ending. That act, saving embers for morning, is a lovely little symbol of peasant life. The day does not end cleanly. It folds into the next. Today's fire becomes tomorrow's flame. Today's labor becomes tomorrow's survival. Today's exhaustion becomes tomorrow's strength, somehow again. You lie down. The straw rustles beneath you. The blanket is rough but welcome. The room is warm on one side, cooler on the other. Someone nearby shifts once. Someone breathes deeply. A child murmurs in sleep. Your hands smell faintly of smoke and earth. Your clothes may still carry the outside chill. Your body sinks into rest not because the bed is soft, but because you have no energy left for anything else. Now in the darkness, your mind may drift. Perhaps to worry. Medieval life leaves plenty to worry about. The harvest, the rent, the winter, illness, tools, animals, weather, children, the Lord's demands. The next season, the next day. Or perhaps the mind is too tired even for that, and you float in a simpler place, half aware of the fire's last faint crackle, half aware of your own breathing. This is one full day. Not a famous day. Not a day that will enter a chronicle. No battle, no coronation, no treaty, no miracle. Just a day in the life of a medieval peasant. And yet history is made of days like this more than anything else. The world of castles, kings, abbeys, wars, and noble feasts rested, quietly and constantly, on the labor of people like you. People who rose in darkness. People who bent over fields. People who patched and carried and planted and fed and waited and hoped. Most of them left no written words behind. But they left everything else. They left worked land, villages, paths, tools worn smooth by touch, foundations beneath later homes, bones marked by labor, records of rents and obligations, and above all, the continuation of life itself. Tomorrow will resemble today in many ways. The same hearth, the same yard, the same animals, the same fields, the same bowl, the same rough cloth, the same church bell. This repetition can sound bleak from far away, but from within it, there is also meaning. To wake and tend, to feed and repair, to raise children, to keep a fire, to endure another season, to remain. There is dignity in remaining. There is dignity in small work done faithfully, dignity in labor that no one praises, dignity in carrying the ordinary weight of life. And now, as the village settles more deeply into night, you can let the image soften. The fire is low, the room is dim, the roof above is dark with smoke. Outside, the fields rest under moonlight or cloud, the animals are quiet, the path through the village is still. The bell will ring again tomorrow. The sun will rise again tomorrow. The work will return tomorrow. But not yet. For now, there is only rest. Only the gentle dark. Only the warmth slowly fading from the hearth. Only the comfort, however modest, of being inside, under cover, with the day complete. So let your breathing grow slower. Let the village grow distant. Let the field, the tools, the bucket, the bread, the fire, the smoke, the straw, and the soft evening light blur together into one calm memory. A medieval peasant's day has ended. And tonight, so has yours. Sleep now.